Right now, our next guest, I'm sure, had a fantastic weekend and played in his first Masters. I think performed on a very high level, even though it's probably not up to his standards. Scott Stallings, PGA Tour Pro, joins us here on the new Sentinel Sports Page. Scott, Vince, and Jesse, good morning. How you doing, Scott?
Morning, guys. How are you?
We're good. Hey, Scott, I'll start out this. The thing I'm most curious about in your weekend at the Masters is what was it like being stalked by Jesse Smithey all week?
It's pretty normal, I guess. No, it was good. I mean, he's been a good buddy ever since pretty much my whole career, and it was good to have him out there. And he was at my first ever professional event, Knoxville Open. I think it was in '07. And so it's pretty cool to have him kind of be there at the very beginning when I didn't really know what was going on, and I've come a long way to make it to the Masters. So it was cool to have him out there.
And Scott, you had one of those moments Thursday when you were on the first tee, and it all kind of hit you just how far you'd come. All the people that had been in your corner, whether it be family, friends, or just buddies. What was that moment like for you on the first tee, and exactly how nervous were you now that you can look back on it?
I mean, you're nervous, you're anxious, you're scared, you're excited, you're all the range of emotions you could possibly have in about a 30-second time period. And, I not necessarily like teared up or anything like that, but, all the emotions kind of come, and you're like, man, this is the Masters and I'm getting to play. Like, this is awesome. And, the shortest iron I'd hit into number one in all the practice rounds and stuff was 7-iron, and I guess I don't know. I was pumped up or something by hitting 9-iron in. I hit a great drive and hit 9-iron on the green, and still kind of feeling it pretty good. And then the reality of golf set in, and I left my birdie putt about 3.5, 4 feet short, and I stand there. I got to make this 4-footer so I don't bogey the first hole of the Masters. So after that was over, I felt pretty back to normal.
What were your expectations going in? And when we talked about you had the rib cage injury, you're pretty much relegated to your house. You can't really do any physical activity. You got a couple of tournament reps in beforehand, but were you just hoping to make the cut, or what was the expectation?
I mean, the goal was to go there and play well and hopefully be in contention. I mean, just like, it's kind of cliche to say, but, you don't sign up to play a tournament with the expectation of just trying to show up. I mean, you want to have opportunity to play to win, and I played about exactly like I thought I'd play. I mean, I'm sure I thought I would kind of score a little better on the par fives, but I mean, at the end of the week, I felt like I held my own in my first Masters, and hopefully it's definitely not my last. But it's an experience. That you got to kind of take everything in perspective. Just it's not like I'd played a lot of golf, and I definitely hadn't played golf at that high of a level, especially with being out with a rib injury for about 8 weeks, and. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's an incredible experience, and it's incredibly motivating at the same time to try to work my butt off to try to get back there.
Sunday night or even Monday morning, did you really give the tournament much analysis, what you could have done better or what you were disappointed with or really excited about?
I'm really excited about, I felt like I played well. I felt like I got some unfortunate breaks the first couple of days with some mud issues, but for the most part, I mean, you kind of take it down as I played the hard holes really good and I played the easy holes really bad. And, if you just said, hey, it's going to be your first Masters and you're going to play 11 and 12 at under par for the week, you'd be like, really? And then you said, hey, you're going to play the par fives 1 under for the whole week. You kind of look back and say, really? And so, everyone that wins the golf tournament, it has to play the par fives well, and I definitely didn't do that. And, there's a lot of things that can kind of take into account from that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, need to do a little bit better job of scoring on the scoring holes, and I think that just comes from playing a lot more golf, and I feel healthy. I'm 100%, and I'm ready to get back out and start playing some more.
Watching Bubba Watson win the Masters Sunday, I'm not sure how much you got to see of that, but he's a guy that you got to spend a little bit of time with and his wife at the start of the season down in Hawaii. Just what do you know about Bubba, and how special was it for him to win that one?
I actually talked to him yesterday. Bubba and Angie, they've been good friends for me and my wife, Jennifer, and they've been some really, really encouraging people to us, especially this whole deal. Like when I really found out about my injury, I was staying with them at Arizona at the Phoenix tournament. I was really just kind of down and out. I was so excited to get the season started and then to kind of deal with the injury. And, they were nothing but encouraging. And, Bubba called me every week when I was home and just asked how I was feeling. And it was great. And obviously, with them the adoption process they've been going through and different things about that. So super excited for them. And then to go and win the Masters is something that's definitely a life-changing event after another incredibly life-changing event of adopting their son, Caleb. But I just chatted with him just for a minute. I got a weird phone call from a weird phone number. I didn't know who it was. And I got a text message that said, Bubba, answer the phone. And I just told him how proud I was of him and how, appreciative of it, how excited I was for him as well. And so it's cool.
When I talked to your mom after the final round Sunday, and I asked her about you and the Masters, and she said that you really felt like you could reach the Masters or play in the Masters when you watched Zach Johnson win in 2007, a guy that was that you could relate to. Now that you see Bubba Watson win the Masters, does that inspire you that one day you've played the Masters now, does that inspire you that one day you can do well on that course, maybe win it someday?
Absolutely. I mean, I remember leaving the course, and I told Josh when we were kind of putting my clubs up and kind of getting ready to head on to the next week, I was like, man, so we can win here. And I said, of all the courses that I feel like I know this course better than any course I've ever played. And, I think there's a lot of experience that kind of goes into it, just kind of how to manage your expectations and manage your time throughout the whole week. And I think that only comes with experience. So, I mean, that's something you don't just get overnight. But, definitely very encouraged by the way that I played and, just a lot of things that I learned and definitely pushed me on to hopefully great things the rest of the year.
Joined by Scott Stallings, PGA Tour Pro, just played in his first Masters. Joining us here on the new Sentinel Sports Page, brought to you by Image Matters and Vince Ferrara, along with Jesse Smithey. Scott, what was maybe the most surprising thing about the tournament? I know you've played a lot of rounds prior to this past weekend, but was there something that maybe surprised you that was maybe your biggest learning experience or anything that stood out the most that was different from what you thought going into the start of the first round?
At the end of the day, nothing surprised me, which, I think that goes with good preparation. I knew where all the pins were going to be. I knew kind of how the course was going to play. I knew a lot of things. I was more educated on this tournament than any tournament I've ever played in my whole life. And, so I wasn't surprised by anything. But some cool things that kind of took place, we talked about my first tee shot, and I was really nervous and all this that kind of went into it. But I walked off the first tee, and Thomas Bjorn turned around, and I don't really know him very well. And he said, "Is this your first time?" And I said, "Yes." And he kind of put his arm around me and said, "Man, take it all in. You're at the Masters." And he said, "Nobody can take that away from you." And that was kind of an experience that I was very thankful for. It kind of lightened the air a little bit and helped me out. But on Sunday, I played with Jeff Ogilvy in a twosome, and I know Jeff a lot more than I know Thomas Bjorn. And he was about 20 yards in front of me off the end of the tee, and he kind of stopped and turned around and said, "Man, this is Sunday at the Masters." He said, "We don't get days like this very often in the PGA Tour, so make sure you take it all in today." And, that's, some really good, wise words from guys who've been out there doing it a lot longer than I have. And, I think they'd played in, both 8 or 9 Masters apiece, and for them to both turn around and say how much they look forward to it, even at that point in their career, and that's something that I definitely wanted to make sure I took in while I was out there.
You went on to play, I guess, yesterday down at the Hootie and the Blowfish Monday after the Masters. What was that event like? Who you got to meet?
It was an awesome event, especially you watch Hootie and the Blowfish play together. It's like, man, why did they ever break up? But, I became pretty good friends with Doug Gottlieb from ESPN last year at the events. We played together again this year, and I talked to him a lot about Tennessee basketball, trying to figure out what the ball's got to do to get back where they belong. And but it was cool. It was a great event. They raised a lot of money for charity, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of.
And you'll go down to Hilton Head to play at Harbortown this week. Just tell everybody what you got coming up in the short term as far as your schedule.
I'm going to play Hilton Head. I'm going to take Valero off. Then I'll play New Orleans, Charlotte, and the Players. And then I'll take the Byron Nelson off. I'll play Colonial, Memorial, and Memphis. And then kind of there's some questionability as far as, the U.S. Open and the British Open and some schedule changes about that. So up till the U.S. Open, I know my schedule.
Scott, so many people made so much out of the Augusta National Golf Club pencil that you guys found at the John Deere last year, and you used that as motivation. I know so many people wrote stories about it this past week at the Masters. Do you now leave that pencil behind and find a new motivational tool, or will you still use it?
I still use it. I keep it in there. Just kind of, it's a lot of people ask me about it on the road, and a lot of people asked me about it yesterday at the Pro-Am, and it got way more traction than I thought. I mean, a lot of people have weird stuff like that in their yard books and their golf bags. They just kind of look at it for, motivation, this and that. And, I don't really look at it every single day. It's like, oh, man, I got to get there, I got to get there, I got to get there. But I think it's just a good reminder every now and then we're not necessarily thinking about it. But I was actually, they gave me a box of pencils on the first tee one day. So I bet I've accumulated a couple thousand over the past 4 or 5 months.
Hey, Scott, great to visit with you. Congratulations. You did a great job this weekend. It was fun to follow you all weekend long, and we appreciate you coming on with us.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and thanks again.
All right, Scott, take care. We'll talk to you soon.